It's time for Howlers and Growlers. A weekly show from our Arizona Coyotes writing pack, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, prospects, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from draft day to the trade deadline, our team covers everything ice hockey in the hot desert. So sit back, grab your favorite cold beverage, and get ready for Howlers and Growlers.
Welcome to Howlers and Growlers, and boy, is it good to be back. If you're in the U.S., we certainly hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm your host, Pat Brown, and we are thrilled to have you back for another show. Joining me, as always, my line mate, Haynes Evans. Haynes, how you doing? How was your holiday?
It was good. I don't eat much Thanksgiving food, so I didn't really partake in the food, but it was good to see like the family, the little cousins, and all that.
Good stuff. And returning to the show, we have a great friend and a great friend of the show, actually. The Hockey Writers Credentialed Canucks reporter, prospects guru, and our very own producer, Matthew Zator. And Matthew, I suspect your Thanksgiving was about a month before ours, yes?
Yeah. It's been a month, but I had a good weekend. I had a good week off for the most part because a lot of the shows didn't record, so a little bit of a break, but I missed everyone, so it's great to be back.
Likewise. I'm going to test my knowledge, and this was actually on the Jumbotron at Gila River Arena last week for Wednesday night's game, and I'm already not remembering it. Canadian Thanksgiving, second Monday in October. Is that right?
That is right. It's always around my birthday, so yeah.
How about it? All right, I like it. All right, well, you guys know the spirit of the show. We've got a lot to talk about, but first, what are you drinking today? And I'll go ahead and start out. I'm going back to actually one of my favorites. Already had this on the show, spoiler alert, but my Papago Orange Blossom. It is a wonderful Mandarin wheat beer, locally brewed. One of my favorites. Good stuff. Matthew, what do you got?
I went the cider route this time, Okanagan cider, crisp apple. So made right in BC here. So went again. I'm going to try to be local every time I'm on here. So
yeah,
Okanagan apple cider there.
Absolutely love it. And Haynes, bring us home. What are you rocking today?
I try to stay local. I don't like many beers from South Carolina, so I'm not local for this week. But I have an Ace fan of Ace ciders. This is a pineapple cider, an Ace pineapple. Ooh. It's very sweet. I'm not a pineapple fan, but this is my go-to beer. So if I tell you I like it, you better try it because I don't like pineapple otherwise.
Sounds legit. Well, cheers, fellas. Let's talk some hockey now, eh? So we got a lot of ground to cover, and Coyotes just finished. For those of you watching, we are recording Wednesday night. Coyotes just finished back-to-back games. Went 1-1, shut out the Winnipeg Jets. We'll talk about that a lot more in just a few minutes. And then lost 5-2 to the Minnesota Wild, who just seems like they always beat the Coyotes. The Coyotes just cannot solve the Wild. But curious, gents, what's your biggest takeaway from the most recent back-to-back road games from the Coyotes? And just kind of to set the stage a little bit, a lot of penalties that the Coyotes have taken over the last two games. Their penalty kill, which again, we'll talk about a little bit, was perfect. However, so they're not afraid to get in those lanes, block those shots. They were thrilled to try to preserve that shutout for Vejmelka. And you saw them getting their body in lane. Didn't matter how many shots they were taking. So what I take away is the heart. I just think this team, it's clear. Spoiler alert, if you're not aware of this team is going nowhere near the playoffs this year. But man, if they don't show a lot of heart night in and night out, and you see them always trying to claw back. The game against Minnesota, they were down 4-1, got a goal in the third to make it 4-2 before ultimately giving up another one. But you just don't see them quit, and you got to tip your cap to that. So that's my takeaway from the week. Matthew, I see you on the screen next. So what do you take away from the past couple of Coyotes games?
Biggest thing is the goaltending, like seeing Vejmelka get his first shutout. I won't say too much because we're going to talk about more about him, but it's the goaltending. I mean, yes, it was a lot of shots against, but that's just how it goes. But I mean, and the penalty killing was another big one. And on a team that's also one of the worst penalty kills in the league. I know that very well from the Canucks. They're horrible too. So seeing them kill 9 penalties, that's pretty amazing. I know a lot of the time it's like, well, you're supposed to be killing the penalties, but when you can't kill them most of the time, killing 9 straight is a big accomplishment. So those are the 2 that I kind of got from it.
Absolutely. Haynes, bring us home. You got the last word. What'd you take away from the past few Coyotes games?
Cohesiveness. I think we're finally seeing this team start to really build team chemistry and really starting to connect. And it's been evident in the last 2.5 weeks. I mean, you're talking about wins over Detroit, St. Louis, Los Angeles, win the other night against the Jets in a great shutout win. I mean, outshot 43-16, somewhere in that range. I mean, finally, this team is starting to connect. Travis Boyd has come out of nowhere in the last 5 games. Antoine Roussel has really stepped it up out of nowhere. Clayton Keller has been hot in the last dozen games. So I think you're starting to see the wheels connect and the wheels are rolling and this team is starting to build chemistry and come together a little bit more than where they were at the beginning of the season.
It's such a good point. And, it's a cliche, but it's true. Under new head coach Andre Torini, they had to learn a brand new system. He came and he implemented his system. And on top of that, the injury bug bit, if you will, the injury / COVID bug bit. And they've always kind of been battling shorthanded. They're still without some key guys like Schmaltz and you're seeing them kind of get used to the system. So all really good points for sure. So, well, let's not waste any more time. Let's talk about the man of the hour, Karel Vejmelka. Ladies and gentlemen, just unbelievable performance for his first career NHL shutout. 46 saves, tying an NHL record for most saves ever in someone's first career shutout. This is a goalie who nobody knew unless, hey, by the way, you watched our show before the season started, because we talked about him, I think, in the very first episode and what he was doing in rookie camp. And nobody knew Vejmelka. Look, I'll be honest. We in the press room after rookie camp, when he came out, didn't know how to pronounce his name. Nobody did. He's come out of nowhere, makes 46 saves, steals a game against the Winnipeg Jets. 1-0 win. Coyotes outshot 46-15, and they win. And you got to be happy for, and we call him a kid. He's 25, but you got to be happy for him and what he's done. So 2 weeks ago, we were asking if he lost it. What's been the key to Karel Vejmelka's success? What have you taken from him? What has he shown you? And I'll be like, what I've noticed, first off, I thought early on in the season, and I've made no secrets about it, I thought his blocker side was pretty slow. I didn't feel like he had the vision that way, and he wasn't moving side to side as well as you'd like to see. And I think he's been working on that. I think teams have tried to exploit blocker side more and more. And you can even see, if you look at like still pictures where he's kind of kicking those saves almost off his arm. And I think he's covered a lot of holes there, and I'm just happy for the kids. So Haynes, let's go to you next. What have you taken from Veggie, not Milkman, Veggie? Your thoughts on the lad?
Yeah. You said it first there, Pat. This is a guy who early on the season has been exploited at the blocker side. It's something that first couple of games he was able to bypass very well for the longest time, getting away with games in close ones because teams didn't have the footage on him. But once teams kind of picked up where he was showing weaknesses, they start to exploit that. And we saw that more in games of going down 2-0, going down 3-0 before the end of the first. And, I think he's really worked on that. But at the same time, I go back to what I stated earlier in the first question is, I think the team's playing a more sound game. You're not seeing them fall behind very early in games really quickly anymore, and that helps the goalie's confidence a lot. I mean, when you go down 2-0, no matter how good your goalie plays, it's really hard to try to keep momentum staying and stay calm in net when you're giving up 2 goals in the first 3 minutes of a period.
Yep. What a great call. I didn't even think about that, and I can't tell you how many games I went to, including the preseason, where you just sit down at your seat. And it's like, it's there it is, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, like crazy. And I have a few more thoughts, but I don't want to use them all because Matthew, we want to hear what you have to say. Karel Vejmelka, Veggie, what have you seen out of him lately?
Well, first, darn that video coaching, because goaltenders already hate that.
It's okay. I'm a goalie. I can do that.
Like the advent of video, my gosh, to watch these guys just exploit their weaknesses. I mean,
yeah.
But I mean, back to Vejmelka. I mean, he struggled for a bit, and you guys talked about it on a couple of shows ago. But I mean, this is all about hard work. He's a very hardworking guy. He's committed to his craft, and you see the improvements that he's made. You guys mentioned it. He's a bit faster with his blocker and like that, and it seems like he's gaining that camaraderie around the guys. His quote after the game, he's happy to be here. Of course, his dream to play in the NHL, and every single minute with these guys, he's really enjoyed it. And the thing is, and that's where the guys are playing for him, and that's a big thing. Like you mentioned that, Haynes, and it's have a team actually playing, more sound defensively. I mean, you could say, oh, how are they good defensively, giving up 46 shots, but
there were 74 attempted shots. So that tells you how many were off the mark and how many got blocked. I should have looked up because they blocked a lot too. But that game, he made 46 saves and there were 74 total shot attempts.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of you could probably ask goaltenders, a lot of them like the work. You get your groove, you get in the game.
Yep.
When you're hitting like 10, 15 shots in the game, unless you're really used to it, guys like we saw it back in Vancouver with Luago in Florida having tons of shots.
Yep.
And then he goes to a team that's only given up 20. He struggles. So, I mean, he probably was happy to get all that work, and getting a shutout with 46 saves is a big thing. Than getting a shutout with 9. I mean, it's more the goaltender on that. So
and not to get lost in the shuffle, just one more point on Vejmelka. I don't want Scott Wedgewood to get lost in the shuffle because his presence. He came in. He was the only goalie who could help lead him to victory, and that is not a slight at Vejmelka because he did everything in his power. It just wasn't getting the goal support. But Wedgewood came in and kind of offered Vejmelka a bit of a relief. I mean, think about it. He got thrust into the starter role, which he had never played an NHL game, never played a North American hockey game. And he got thrust into an NHL starting role once Carter Hutton went down. And Prosvetov wasn't ready for the NHL. And all of a sudden, Vejmelka's the guy. I mean, talk about baptism by fire. Wedgewood came in, was able to add some stability. And last thing I'll say on it, you guys should go to either Twitter or Google it. Wedgewood and Vejmelka had a really cool moment after that shutout, and you could see they kind of just had a nice little bonding moment, and Wedgewood had some nice words of encouragement, and just in a dark season, a nice little beacon of light, a feel good story. And it was good to see. So really happy for Veggie again, Veggie. And if you disagree, comment and fight me. It is not Milkman. Fight me. So.
Something I want to add real fast. It was kind of funny, something funny about that real quickly. It was at the end of the video, at the end of the game, Wedgewood's giving the puck. I want to have a talk with Scott Wedgewood's equipment reps because Vejmelka had new pads for that game. I'm very particular. I watch when goalies new gear. He had new gear for that game. Wedgewood has yet to receive anything Arizona Coyotes themed. And I know that it's on order and has not arrived. So I need to have a talk with someone, I think, because I don't understand why Vejmelka's getting his stuff in like it's no problem, but Wedgewood's getting denied over here.
Well, somebody asked Wedgewood about that. I don't know who, but somebody asked Wedgewood about that. Spoiler alert, this guy. And everything's on back order. And I think the reason for that, Haynes, when you're talking about Vejmelka stuff, keep in mind he was with the team a couple weeks earlier. I didn't even notice that. So super perceptive, but the Wedgewood's equipment, or at least the design aspect of it, is on back order. And I know that the person who they all go to the same person for the helmet. And I think he was ill, if I'm not mistaken. So we wish everybody the best, but I do think it's on the way, and we're looking forward to seeing it.
Sweet.
For what it's worth, Wedgie, because we got the Wedgie tandem. You gotta love it. Wedgie seemed very excited about the designs he has coming, so we certainly can't wait to see those.
Awesome.
Maybe we'll have to start making it a weekly pool. Did Wedgewood get his pads? I like it. All right. That's been enough time on this segment. Our producer, I'd say our producer is going to kill us, but he's on with us. So let's talk real quickly about Clayton Keller. Haynes, you talked about him earlier, and I'll tell you what, he may have started off the season slow, but he looked good right now. He is engaged. He is quick. He had a sick turnaround spinorama goal yesterday against Minnesota, actually, to open up the scoring. He's got 7 points in his last 5 games, 15 points in 23 games overall. And while I don't normally like the statistic, plus minus of 0, and to be honest, with their lack of scoring and how many goals they're giving up, that's fairly impressive. So what do you take from Clayton Keller? Have you ever seen him play better? And Matthew, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned Keller in the past already of how he's kind of stepped up this season, and he just continues to do it more recently. I mean, it's not, like you said, it's not uber impressive, but on a team that's not scoring so much, it is. So, I mean, this is a guy that's going to be here hopefully for the long term for this team, and on a team that has a lot of young guys coming up, he's going to be the veteran leader pretty quickly here for a lot of these young guys. So to see him performing is amazing to see. And, you know, I can't say enough about him already. And yeah, he's such a skilled player, and to be on a team that's struggling and it's not going to be very good for the next few years, hoping he still remains that productive player, because I think he's a big part of this team's future.
Yeah. And by the way, on the flip side of that 0 plus minus, I just want to call out, and we love you, Jacob, like Jacob Chikrin at a minus 25. That one hurts. That one hurts. Again, I'm not a big plus minus guy, to be honest. I think that's an overrated stat, but at some point it does become alarming. And Chikrin we've talked about before, and we'll talk about again, I'm sure. And he's coming around too. He's starting to play real well, but he's getting everybody's best shot. So anyways, Haynes, your thoughts on Clayton, who you're kind of rocking the Keller stash a little bit. I like it. I like it.
I only wish you would have noticed it in Carolina. I'm glad you did. Anybody that watches the Chirpin Yotes or listens to us on the Chirpin Yotes podcast knows that me and Grandy will stand on a hill and die for Clayton Keller. I have raved so much about this guy prior to him coming to Arizona, back when he was playing in St. Louis for the Junior Blues. This kid is someone I followed way before the NHL, way through college, and he's honestly has had some down years. I know people have looked at that contract as in they paid him too much, but I think every year after, maybe his first year he was very good, his second, third year he was a little bit down, but his last 2 years, 3 years, I would say he's really turned a page and he's trending. And this is the year that he's really, I think, has his best shot with what the team's status looks like right now in terms of who's on the team skill wise. So it's positive to see. Honestly, I hope Bill Armstrong doesn't move him for a piece in the offseason. I know that I've heard that floated around. I don't think that's going to be the case, but nevertheless, it's great to see. He's a great kid. He's a smart player, and I just hope to see him grow more.
Look, I mean, if someone comes and offers him a king's ransom, I'm sure Armstrong will listen. But you got to think, and there's no truly untouchable player, but you got to think guys like Keller, like Chikrin are. It's going to take a lot to move them out. They're still young. They're clear leaders. And this team is looking for a captain. And, you know, heading into the season, I kind of assumed, and this is a conversation for another time, but heading into the season, I kind of assumed Chikrin would be the guy eventually. But, you know, players are making a name for themselves right now. Mm-hmm. Who's going to step up when adversity is staring you right in the face and be a leader on this team and lead by example? And you got to tip your cap to Mr. Keller because he's doing it so far. So really, really good perspective, boys. As always, let's take a quick time out. Please, at home, toss us a like, hit subscribe. Be sure, leave a comment down below, and thank you for watching. Make sure you check out all our other shows on the Hockey Writers Network. We've got Saber Scoop. We've got Prospects Corner, the Hockey Writers Grind Line, Chicks and Sticks. What's cracking? That list just keeps going and going. Sign up for our Morning Skate newsletter. Join us on our Discord server. And might I add, we've been having some fantastic conversations in Discord lately during the games. It's been a lot of fun. Shoot us a comment down below. We'll not only answer it, we'll address it on the air next week. Give us a follow. We're on iHeartRadio. On Twitter, we're at Howlers THW. And then Mr. Zator over there is at Matthew Zator SC. Thank you for watching. We absolutely love it, and we wouldn't be here without you. So, all right. Our bills are paid, and I think we're good to go. Matthew, we're on for another week yet? Sweet. Okay, good. So
Yeah,
we're good. I don't usually have you on here to actually ask. So, all right. Well, we talked about it earlier in the show, the Coyotes penalty kill. I think you said 9, Matthew. I got to go stat boy on you. It's actually been their last 10 penalties that I've seen that the Coyotes have killed off. They killed off 6 in that 46 save shutout over Winnipeg. I mean, brutal, including, I don't know if you guys had a chance to actually see the end of that, but a 4-minute double minor with 5 minutes left. And it just felt like there was no way the Coyotes were going to get out of that period without seeing it get tied up. So you got to tip the cap. Look, they're up to 29th in the league in PK percentage, which even just a couple weeks ago, if they weren't dead last, they were darn close to it, 72.37%. Not bad considering they've given up 76 power play opportunities against them, which is second in the league behind Carolina's 81. So, if you're going to take a lot of penalties, you better be able to kill it off. And that was an Achilles heel early in the season, but they seem to be gelling a little bit. Haynes, your thoughts on the Coyotes penalty kill? Is there reason for optimism? Have they turned a corner?
Now, if you told me at the beginning of the season, 10 games in, that this team was going to turn the page somewhat and kill 10 straight penalty kills, I would have laughed in your face. I think you would have done it too, Pat, and I think anybody else would have laughed in anybody's face if you had told me that. But watching this team recently, there looks to be almost like they really kind of spent more time looking into just kind of watching film when they've been on the penalty kill, and they really have kind of grown. They look better structurally out there. I'm seeing different formations. They're really tightening into that box formation, and they're smart. They're getting down. They're blocking more shots. They made a bunch of great kills on that double minor there against Winnipeg. So hopefully it's a step in the right direction, and this team's hopefully kind of figuring out the way to, limit. First off, penalty taking. The Coyotes, that's been their plague all season, is taking penalties. But hopefully, if they are going to keep taking them, they've hopefully learned how to play sound enough defensively that they can kill them every time they're on one.
By the way, we keep talking about the win over Winnipeg, and I cannot believe it was Arizona's second time winning in Winnipeg. And mind you, for those youngins at home who probably aren't even old enough to know when they moved, 1996, the Coyotes are the former Winnipeg Jets. Matthew,
OG Jets.
Heck yeah. Matthew, your thoughts on the penalty kill? And I know you've got a lot of experience evaluating the PK with Vancouver. So your thoughts on, have they turned a corner? How are they looking?
Well, they're looking better than the Canucks, I'll say that.
I love you, but that's not setting the bar very high.
It's not. Canucks says 63%, something stupid like that. So, I mean, but yeah, Haynes said it. It's that commitment to blocking shots, I think, is the biggest thing. Not letting those shots through is a big thing for the goaltender. And, just committing to that system. I mean, just having those 10 straight kills in your back pocket right now, it's confidence. And I think that's what you need in the PK is that confidence. And if you don't have it, it just seems like goals just keep going in. And that's what I've been seeing in Vancouver, and Arizona had that too. I'm sure, when you don't have confidence in your PK, you're going to be like, well, we're going to get scored on. Yep. And that's just usually happens, you self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, you have confidence in that ability to kill a penalty. I think that's the biggest thing. And 10 straight kills, and we'll see how much more they can get, but it's a step in the right direction. Yeah.
And, even though they lost, think about this, right? They lost to Minnesota 5-2 and killed off all 4 penalties. That's imagine how bad it could have been. They got themselves back in the game with about 13 minutes left in the third, made it a 4-2 game. We all know how 2-goal leads go. So they gave themselves a chance, and that is the direct result of special teams play. So one other thing I want to talk about in the future, we won't talk about it today, but Barrett Hayton has been crazy impressive in the faceoff circle, and he is winning such key faceoffs at key times. And I'm a faceoff nerd. Okay. I love faceoffs. I feel like it's one of the most underrated and important aspects of the game. And I just, I've been really impressed with what the young Mr. Hayton has done in the faceoff dot. So that's a topic for another time, but I'm on a roll. What can I say, boys? It's been 2 weeks. I missed you. So let's talk a little trade bait here, because Haynes, you were actually talking about Clayton potentially being moved, not in any serious connotation, just hoping it doesn't happen. But that begs the question then, who is going to get moved? We all know there are going to be some pieces that are on this team right now that come trade deadline. There are going to be some teams, maybe through injuries, maybe through whatever, that are looking for some help. Who could be those players that get moved? And I will shamelessly go first, because I'm currently working on a piece for this, probably be out, I don't know about tomorrow, but next couple of days for sure. And I think Shane Gostisbehere is revitalizing his career in the desert, currently leading the team with 16 points on the team. The big sticking point obviously is his contract. He's still got 2 years left at $4.5 million, including this year, but he also got to look at Arizona's payroll and the fact that they can eat the maximum that they're allowed to eat, which is half, right? So I mean, they could eat as much as they want to make a deal and see what type of return. But in my opinion, we're going to see a team that needs some help on the blue line, needs some experience, veteran leadership, and Shane Gostisbehere on a bad Coyotes team has really kind of elevated himself, to be honest. So, Matthew, I think we'll go to you next. Your thoughts on who could potentially be on the move before the trade deadline with the Coyotes?
Well, you mentioned Gostisbehere. I think he's going to be a guy that teams are going to look at. I mean, the way his confidence level is right now, and he's putting up points. I mean, that's all you for teams that need that on the back end, and mobility. He's got that as well, and that veteran presence. So I think he will command some interest. Another guy, we've talked about him in the past, is Phil Kessel. I mean, this guy's got to be moved before the deadline. I mean, you're missing out on an opportunity. I mean, he hasn't been lighting up on the scoreboard, but I mean, on a contending team, this guy can still do it. Yeah. He's still a goal scorer. So, I mean, this guy's, you got to move him. I mean, it should be a foregone conclusion. He's got to be moved. So I think, I don't know what they get for him, but I think teams will definitely want him. So I think Kessel's a definite guy that I'm looking to be moved for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You just, if you're a Coyotes fan, you hope he starts maybe doing a little bit more. Yeah. Because that return right now isn't going to be great right now. But to your point, you surround him with the talent, and he's still very much a playmaker and can make things happen, hands down. Haynes, bring us home on this one. Your thoughts on the potential trade circuit and who from Arizona may be on the move before the trade deadline.
Yeah, you guys both hit there with Shane Gostisbehere. I think is definitely one that I know some people want to see around, and, it could be that he does stay to the end of the season, but it's most likely that he's going to get moved with the resurgence of a year he's having. Mm-hmm. And Phil Kessel's another one that we all know is getting moved. It's going to happen whether it's tonight, tomorrow, this week, next month. For the trade deadline, he's going to be moved. He doesn't want to be here. He's already asked for the trade. And then one final guy I want to add in there was Ryan Dzingel. I think that
Zinger, I like it.
I think in the last week and a half or so, or 2 weeks, he's made some big plays when he's needed. Yeah. He's had some big goals. He had a big fight against Columbus. I mean, he brings a spark to teams, and he's needed in an area where you could use him as a mid-6 line role guy. I mean, he's definitely someone who I definitely think gets moved. As long as he's healthy, I definitely see him as a guy who's getting moved for maybe a second of Armstrong Kapulsan, if not a third rounder.
That's a good call out with Zinger. He's such a little spark plug. It was great.
Yeah.
I flat out, I don't remember who asked. It might have been me. I don't remember, but somebody asked Torini about what Dzingel brought, because as soon as he came back off of the IR, a couple goals, just you see him skating around. He's just got so much energy. He could bring a lot to a team that is even just in contention for a playoff spot. There's a lot he can do there. So well done, boys. That was some good name dropping here. I like it. So all right, well, let's go to our last segment, which has become a weekly staple, and I love it. Tankathon 2021-22, which by winning games, by the way, Coyotes, I don't know if you know, but you're doing it wrong. But all seriousness, we're this segment, if you're watching for the first time, we're just highlighting some prospects likely to be taken high in the 2022 NHL Entry Draft. This week, we want to highlight 17-year-old American center out of Pennsylvania, goes by the name of Logan Cooley. And I will set the stage really quick. Can't wait to hear what Matthew has to say, because as I said at the beginning, he is our prospects guru. If you haven't watched Prospects Corner, you're missing out. So make sure you check it out. But Logan Cooley, known for his two-way ability. He's a two-way player. Again, we're talking about a 17-year-old. So Matthew and I were joking actually before the show. He hasn't exactly been back checking on Sidney Crosby quite yet, but you can see he's got the tools, and he's known for his two-way ability. He's known for his ability in the face-off circle as well. And he's committed to Notre Dame for 2022-23. So the best stats I can toss out right now for such a young kid in the United States Development Program on the U18 national team, 28 points, 18 games. That coming just this past season, if you will. So that's really, it's tough to get a stat sample on such a young 17-year-old, but so that's what we're looking at with Mr. Cooley. So we're going to give Matthew the last word on this one. So Haynes, your thoughts on Logan Cooley, and what would the Coyotes be getting if they have the ability to draft him?
Yeah. Matthew here is also going to have the best feedback overall on Matthew Cooley here, but I actually did see a little bit of film of him. I have watched a couple YouTube videos on him, kind of just looking through prospects recently, especially last week with not doing the show. And like you said, Pat, he's a really young kid, but he looks really good two-way kind of player. I mean, for his age at 17 to be as smart as he is two-way, I mean, he doesn't have the greatest back check. He's not back checking Crosby, but I mean, he's smart playmaking kid for a kid so young. He's got such a smart, wise kind of skill set to him already and mindset. And, that's something that teams are going to be interested in. I mean, teams are going to look at that when the draft comes around. They're going to look at this kid and go, he's young, but this kid knows what he's doing on the ice at such a young age. And, it's someone that's going to stand out to someone. So I haven't really seen much other than kind of a little bit from the U.S. Developmental program and all that. But, I mean, he's a really good kid who's got a really bright future, I think. I don't know if he goes straight to the NHL right out of being drafted, but I mean, this kid is a great two-way player who's, I think, is going to excel at the NCAA level with Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm no prospect guru, but I'll go out on a limb and say he's going to have to be developed. Yeah. He's not the type of player who's going to appear right in the NHL, but he's got the tools. Like you said, he's definitely got the tools. So, I mean, we've all been waiting for this. So, Matthew, enlighten us on Logan Cooley, the 17-year-old out of Pennsylvania, American center. What would any team be getting, and what would the Coyotes be getting should they be lucky enough to draft him?
Well, I'm going to name drop Shane Wright here, and this is where, I mean, it may be a height. I mean, that's a big comparison, but when I say this guy has no weaknesses, Logan Cooley has pretty much a lot of the same things. He doesn't have a lot of weaknesses to his game. He's great, like you guys mentioned, the two-way game. He's got a great wrist shot. He can score goals. He could strip you of the puck. I mean, watch a clip of this guy. Guy's trying to get out of the zone. He goes and takes the puck away and scores a goal. I mean, this is like Datsuk type ability, right?
Ooh, Datsukian.
So I mean, he could do that. He could score. He can win faceoffs. And that's a big thing at 17 to be able to be that good and faceoffs at that young of an age. I mean, And you said about he may be a long shot to make the NHL right away. I don't think so. I mean, have that two-way game and win faceoffs. He could play a third, fourth line role right off the bat and be good. You know, I mean, that may be not the best way to start him, but he could do that and be an NHL player. So
sure,
this guy's got a lot of the tools that you want in a two-way center. And a Jonathan Toews, I'm dropping names like crazy here. You know, like that type of players, those guys are players who win championships with, and he's got all that. He's also ridiculously fast. I mean, his skating is probably one of his biggest strengths as well. Like I said, there's not a lot of things he doesn't do well. So I mean, you know, Craig Button has him as second overall. I mean, I actually don't argue that. I think he could be a second overall pick. So, I mean, whoever gets this guy, I'm going to say the Canucks should be getting him. The way they're playing this season. So the Coyotes can't have them. So the
Canucks. Well, you heard it here first. We're going to have an 18-year-old Calder Selke winner next year in the NHL. I joke. But, you know, that's Matthew, not to dwell on it, but to me, you saying that he's got a shot to make the NHL, like, and he's 17 right now, meaning making the NHL, he'd be 18. And you do not see a lot of 18-year-olds in the NHL.
No,
it's got to be so for you to say that just puts him next level in my book, because, you know, you think about it, it's got to be the right situation, right? I don't even necessarily know if the Coyotes will see Dylan Guenther in the NHL next year, not because he's not good enough, because he is, but what do you want to surround your young talent with? What type of situation? What's their psyche look like? So it also kind of depends on the situation they're coming in. But honestly, just you saying that, I think, speaks volumes on the kid's talent. And I can't wait to see how the draft shakes out and where everything ends up. So anyways, boys, this was awesome. I can't believe it's been 2 weeks. So it was good to get back behind the screen and do this. That is our show. Thank you at home so much for sticking around. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, follow us on Twitter at Howlers THW. Don't forget to follow Matthew at Matthew Zator SC. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Cheers.